We're going to do a close reading of the first two scenes of The Tragedy of Macbeth. You can find the play in Unit 6 of your textbook. Click on the contents and then open the chevron next to the words Absolute Power, locate The Tragedy of Macbeth, and then click on Act 1. We're going to read scenes 1 and 2 together, and then you will read scene 3 independently. In this video, we will use the play audio feature of your textbook in order to hear the play read to us. I will pause along the way to show you how to use the textbook features to help you in your understanding. Before we begin, make sure you have downloaded the Macbeth Act I, Scenes 1 to 3 Notes PDF. It includes the notes that I have written for scenes 1 and 2, and also includes the questions for you to complete independently as you do your own reading for scene 3. Let's listen to Act 1, Scene 1.
Act 1, Scene 1. Thunder and lightning. Enter 3 witches. When shall we 3 meet again? In thunder, lightning, or in rain?
When the hurly-burly's done, when the battle's lost and won.
That will be ere the set of sun.
Where the place?
Upon the heath.
There to meet with Macbeth.
I come, Grey Malkin.
Paddock calls.
Anon.
Fair is foul, and foul is fair. Hover through the fog and filthy
Your textbook has some features to help you in your understanding. When you see a hyperlinked number at the end of a line, click on it. It's either going to give you more information about a word in that line. For example, in this case, we learned that hurly-burly refers to a turmoil or an uproar. Or it's going to give us more information about a name or place that's referenced. In this case, we learned that Grey Malkin and Paddock refer to 2 demon helpers, and the word anon means at once. I use this information to help me complete my notes for the first scene of Macbeth, in which the 3 witches are talking about meeting Macbeth when the battle is over. Scene 2 is a bit longer and includes more characters, so I will pause it more frequently to check my understanding with the information that's in the hyperlinks. You'll also notice that once the text starts, I click on the More link and I turn on the Read Along highlighting. This can help you follow along with the text. Let's read Scene 2.
Act 1, Scene 2. A military camp in the midst of battle. Enter King Duncan, Malcolm, Donalbain, and Lennox. A captain is lying on the ground, badly wounded, and he's being attended to.
What bloody man is that? He can report, as seemeth by his plight, of the revolt of the new estate.
This is the sergeant, who like a good and hardy soldier fought against my captivity. Hail, brave friend. Say to the king the knowledge of the broil as thou didst leave it.
Doubtful it stood. As 2 spent swimmers that do cling together and choke their art. The merciless MacDonald, worthy to be a rebel, for to that the multiplying villainies of nature do swarm upon him. From the western isles of kerns and gallowglasses is supplied, and fortune, on his damned quarrel smiling, showed like a rebel's whore. But all's too weak, for brave Macbeth, well he deserves that name. Disdaining fortune with his brandished steel which smoked with bloody execution, like Valor's minion carved out his passage till he faced the slave, which ne'er shook hands nor bade farewell to him, till he unseamed him from the nave to the chops and fixed his head upon our battlements.
I'll pause there and click on the hyperlinks to learn more about what just happened. starting up at the one that I first want to read, which is after Hail, Brave Friend. So I read that "'gainst my captivity" means he was saved from capture. So the captain was saved from capture, and Malcolm is asking him to tell the king what happened in the battle. The text provides some clarification on lines 9 through 13 that the captain is throwing up some insults against MacDonald, who is fighting for the other side. Between lines 15 and 25, he talks about how bravely Macbeth fought in the battle, calling him the bravest of all. We also get a glimpse into Macbeth's ruthlessness, though, as we read that he split MacDonald open from his navel to his jaw.
Oh, valiant cousin, worthy gentleman.
As whence the sun gins his reflection, shipwracking storms and direful thunders break, so from that spring whence comfort seemed to come, discomfort swells. Mark! King of Scotland, mark! No sooner justice had, with valour armed, compelled these skipping kerns to trust their heels, but the Norwegian lords, surveying vantage, with furbished arms and new supplies of men, began a fresh assault.
Dismayed not this act.
This note just tells us that they began a new assault on Macbeth after he defeated MacDonald. This builds to the idea that the battle was very fierce and went on for some time.
Captains Macbeth and Banquo.
Yes, as sparrows, eagles, or the hare, the lion. If I say sooth, I must report they were as cannons overcharged with double cracks. So they doubly redoubled strokes upon the foe, except they meant to bathe in reeking wounds, or memorize another Golgotha. I cannot tell. I am faint. Oh, my gashes cry for help.
So well thy words become thee as thy wounds. They smack of honour both. Go, get him surgeons.
We have a couple of notes in this line. The captain says he was telling the truth, and then he uses a simile to compare Macbeth to a cannon overcharged with double ammunition. And then he makes a reference to Golgotha, which was the place that Christ was crucified. And so the captain says that he can't tell if Macbeth was trying to make this battle as famous as what happened there. All of these things, though, give us insight into Macbeth's character and his determination for success, no matter what the cost.
The captain is led away.
Who comes here?
Enter Ross and Angus.
The worthy Thane of Ross.
We see that the word thane is used to refer to a Scottish nobleman.
What a haste looks through his eyes. So should he look that seems to speak things strange.
God save the king.
Whence camest thou, worthy Thane?
From Fife, great king, where the Norwegian banners flout the sky and fan our people cold. Norway himself, with terrible numbers, assisted by that most disloyal traitor, the Thane of Cawdor, began a dismal conflict, till that Bellona's bridegroom, lapped in proof, confronted him with self-comparisons, point against point, rebellious arm against arm, curbing his lavish spirit, and to conclude, the victory fell on us.
This line sums up what the Thane of Ross was saying, where he says that the battle was won once and for all. He also reveals the news that the Thane of Cawdor was a traitor, and he came up in contact against Macbeth, but Macbeth was victorious.
Great happiness!
That now, Sweno, the Norway's king, craves composition, nor would we deign him burial of his men till he dispersed at St. Column's Inch $10,000 to our general use.
No more that Thane of Cawdor shall deceive our bosom interest. Go, pronounce his present death, and with his former title greet Macbeth.
I'll see it done.
What he hath lost, noble Macbeth hath won.
So to wrap up this scene, we learn a couple of important pieces of information. Norway's king desired a treaty with Macbeth and the Thane of Ross and the King of Scotland, and they allowed him to bury his men once he paid them $10,000, which I'm sure the King of Scotland was very excited about. And then King Duncan, he also says that the traitor, the Thane of Cawdor, he is going to be executed, and we learn that from this note right here. He finishes up, King Duncan finishes up by saying, "What he hath lost, noble Macbeth hath won." And that refers to he is going to be giving the title of Thane of Cawdor to Macbeth. And we'll see why that's important a little bit later on in the plot. So using everything I learned from reading the helper notes for Scene 2, I was able to put together the answers to the questions on the notes page for Act 1, Scene 2. For your assignment, read Act 1, Scene 3 of The Tragedy of Macbeth. It's the very next scene in the play, and use the information you learn there to answer the questions on the notes page. You can turn on the audio reading and use the line-by-line highlighter if you'd like, but make sure you read the linked notes that pop up to help you in your understanding. Scene 3 is a bit longer than Scene 2, so you'll notice on the notes page that we have prompted you to stop after every so many lines where there seems to be a shift in the action, so you can pause, check your understanding, and answer the questions. Toward the end of this scene, you'll notice that some of the stage directions start to include the word aside. In a drama, aside means that the actor is speaking to the audience. The other characters on stage cannot hear what he's saying. The benefit to asides is that it gives insight into the character's inner thoughts. You get to hear what he's thinking about. And notice that sometimes the aside is to another character, which means the other people on stage can't hear him, but the person he is speaking to can. So now it's your turn. Read Act 1, Scene 3, and complete the notes page.